What's your maiden name, Anna?
My maiden name, Grijalva. Grijalva.
We're going.
Okay. Okay, today is December 9th, 2003, and this is Jean Reynolds, and today we're here with Anna Lockhead at her home, beautiful home.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, I'm going to start with a little bit of family history. I'm going to kind of do the same interview that I did with Jim, but a little bit different. We'll ask a little different questions. Now, tell me about your grandparents. What were their names, both on your maternal and paternal side?
My mother's maiden name was Martinez, and she grew up in Prescott, Arizona. And my father's, his mother's, you want his mother's maiden name?
If you can remember.
I think I have forgotten. Alvarez. That was it, Alvarez.
Okay.
And he was born and grew up in Phoenix.
Okay.
So we've lived here a long time.
So on your mother's side, the last name was Martinez,
Mm-hmm.
and then on your father's side was Grijalva.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know their first names?
Pardon?
Do you know the first names of your grandparents?
Yes, mother's maiden name, first name was Marion. And my father's name was Raoul, Raoul.
R-A-O-U-L?
Mm-hmm. He spelled it a little differently then.
Yeah. And how do you spell your mother's name?
Marian.
Okay, so your father grew up in Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
What year was he born? Do you remember?
1899.
Okay. And your father's family, the Grijalva family, how do you trace your roots? Like, where were you originally from?
Where they were originally from? Well, from Mexico, but they were born in the United States. My grandfather was born in Los Angeles, and I think my grandmother was too. And but their parents had lived in Mexico and came up to the United States.
So they came from Los Angeles to Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
Was this prior to your father being born?
No.
Okay.
Well, yes, because Daddy was born here in Phoenix.
Okay.
And I think my grandmother was too. I'm not as sure about her. She died when I was fairly young, so I really never talked to her very much. But my father lived to be 93, so I learned about it a lot from him.
Okay, great. Now, what kind of work did your father do?
My father was an accountant.
And do you know where your father's family lived at in Phoenix? Which area?
Well, let's see. What do they call? I think they call it Buckeye Road now. And at that time it was Henshaw Drive, and they had a farm there. He farmed and raised dairy cows. Had a dairy.
Was that in East Phoenix or on the west side?
It's on the south, and it was just east of 12th Street, between 12th Street and 16th Street. There's something huge there now. I'm trying to think. I don't know if it's a post office or what, but there's something. It's not a farm any longer. No place is anymore.
Yeah, there's a big post office there, and they have some other kind of big buildings.
I think that's where the post office is now.
Yeah, that's right into that area right before you get toward where the airport is. So, okay. Oh, that's really interesting. So he became an accountant.
Mm-hmm.
So he must have been doing that, looks like, maybe in the 20s? Is that when he started working?
He started in the 20s, yes.
Well, that's really interesting. Okay. Now, your mother, Marion, she was originally from Prescott?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And did she do any work outside of the home? Or did she mostly?
Yes, she graduated from Tempe Normal. She was a school teacher when she got married. And she stopped teaching school then when she married. And then when the war came along and there was a shortage of teachers, the superintendent of the schools up in Superior asked her if she would come back and substitute. Well, the substitution lasted for years, and she loved it. And I'm an only child, so I was out of the nest by that time, and so she really enjoyed her teaching. And she taught first graders, and they were just like her own children. And she was a good teacher because she loved them so much, and she enjoyed that. And she taught until she had to retire. And
Wow.
so
That's great.
uh-huh.
Sometimes some of the women back in those days, 20s and 30s, they would, once they got married, a lot of them would stop teaching because they would, have children, then they would have to stay home.
Not only that, but in Superior, they wouldn't allow women who were married to teach years ago. And I really think she wanted to be a homemaker anyway.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's interesting. When was your mother born?
My mother was born in 1898.
1898. So she was a little bit older than your dad.
Yes,
1 year.
not much, but
Yeah, a little tiny bit. Wow, that's really neat. Okay. Imagine being born in 1899, just right on the cusp of that new century. Now, how did your parents meet each other?
I'm not sure. Mother came down here to go to Tempe Normal for college, and she had relatives here, and I think their friends became her friends, and I think that's the way she met him. Of course, and I'm pretty sure that was just through friends.
Mm-hmm.
But an incident, I don't know.
Okay.
If she told me, I've forgotten.
And when did they get married?
They got married in 1924 in Tempe.
Okay, can you describe your father a little bit for me?
Well, he was short of stature, and he was also a pianist, and he had a little orchestra, and they would play for different functions and dances up at Superior regularly, and he loved music. He loved it very, very much. That's why we have a piano, and I play, but not nearly as well as he did. And but in stature, he was just regular, not too tall, not too short, not too heavy, and not too thin, just average.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, did your father work as an accountant for anybody in particular? Did he have
Yes,
his
he
own
worked for
business?
the mine up in Superior, and he worked there the whole time. He started in 1924, and he worked there until he retired. And then he was also the paymaster there.
Okay. When did he retire?
1960. I guess he retired when he was 65, so that would be 1963, 1964.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a long time. Yeah. Okay, and then maybe describe your mother a little bit for me.
Well, my mother was average person too, not too tall, not too heavy, and not too thin, and she was a warm person, and she was just a very smart lady, and I admired her a lot, and she was just an average housewife in those days.
Okay. And so when they got married, how did they end up going from, the valley to Superior?
Well, Daddy had gotten a job up there, and so they just moved up there when they got married, so they were all set.
Okay. Did they live in a certain part of Superior? Was there a
Yes.
certain neighborhood?
I don't know if you're familiar with mining towns or not, but mining towns have usually a section of company houses where some of the employees live, not the regular employees because they don't have enough houses for that. But my father had a company house. We lived in a company house there, and the whole time.
Okay. All right. And when were you born?
1925.
In Superior.
No, I was born in Tempe.
Oh, in Tempe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So did your mom came back down to Tempe to have you?
Yes. When she was in Tempe, she had a doctor there. She had an emergency appendectomy, and the local doctor there took care of her, and she thought he was just perfect. Mm-hmm. And so when the time came for me to be born, he took care of her in the maternity time, and then when I was due to be born, she had to have him deliver the baby, so we came down here.
What was the hospital?
Pardon?
What was the hospital?
Well, it isn't there anymore, and it was a maternity home.
Okay.
And I can't remember the name of it. But since I've been married, I have met a man that he's a friend of ours, that lives in Tempe, and he was born in the same place.
Really?
We laugh about that now. He would remember the name of it because
Mm-hmm.
he grew up there. But I don't remember the name of it.
Was it near the downtown, near Mill Avenue, or was it farther?
Well, it wasn't very big in those days.
Yeah.
So yes, it was close to downtown, and downtown wasn't very big either. So yes, it was in the cosmopolitan area, which is inside the railroad tracks.
Right. Yeah, I'm just curious because I don't know that much about, kind of sort of the hospital history or, medical care history of Tempe.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it's a little bit of new information for me, so I'm just curious about that.
Well, I think at that time the only hospital in the valley was at Phoenix. It was just, it was really very rural.
Yes, definitely. Okay. Maybe you can describe your neighborhood in Superior where you grew up.
Well, like I say, it was at a company house, so our area was all company houses, and it was nice. It was very nice. Mm-hmm. Middle class, average home, brick house.
And you had a view of the mountains?
Yes, in the hills. The mine was up against a mountain, and we were right in front of the mine. We were on mine property and company property. And so it was hilly.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But not as hilly as Jerome.
Right. Even I think Miami might be a little bit.
Yeah, even Miami's hillier. Yeah. More hills, and Globe too.
Mm-hmm. I have a good friend that grew up in Miami. She
do
calls
you?
it Miami.
Oh, yeah. Yes, that's what the natives call it.
Yes. Now, where did you attend school at?
There. At that time, there was just one grammar school and one high school.
Was it just called Superior Grammar School?
At the Roosevelt School.
Roosevelt.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And Superior High School. I think that building is still standing. I think it's falling apart, but because I know they built a new one several years ago.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Do you have any, certain memories from school that stand out for you, either in grade school or high school? Special events or certain teachers that you enjoyed or anything?
Well, it was a small school, so everybody knew everybody, and it wasn't. They didn't have as many activities as schools do nowadays. We had a high school band, which was very small, but they did their best, and enough to have a parade on Veterans Day and things like that, and they'd participate. And it was really a small school. They had basketball teams, football teams, And they at that time there were a lot of small towns that they competed against, which now are so much larger. But it was a small number. I think the whole town had only about 5,000 people in it. So it was small in number, and so everything was on a smaller scale.
Mm-hmm. Like Chandler.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you were growing up, do you remember knowing about Chandler at all, or knowing
About Chandler?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, because when my mother graduated from college, she taught in Chandler her first year. And then with my grandparents still living in Phoenix, we would come down to visit regularly, and Mother having relatives in Tempe, well, we would visit Tempe. But yes, I heard about Chandler,
Mm-hmm.
and I saw it, never dreaming I would live there one day.
Do you remember what it looked like when you saw it?
Oh, it was very rural. It was just one street, and it wasn't much different when we got married. It was a very, very small community,
Mm-hmm.
and mostly farms around the area. And they had put Williams Field in during the war, so that was there. And I think maybe that helped it prosper because it brought in stores and to take care of them. But no, it was very small,
Mm-hmm.
and rural.
Okay. Now, what year did you graduate from high school?
1943.
1943. Okay. Do you? This is something that I like to ask a lot of people. Do you remember what you were doing on December 7th, 1941?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I was a teenager, and I was at home, and I don't remember exactly what I was doing, but I was at home, and I remember my father listening to the radio, and the minute he heard it, you could tell there was something really big had happened. So we gathered around the radio to listen, and we listened the rest of the day. And then when it was a Sunday, and we went to school on Monday, and of course that was the chatter, and it was a big of thing. It really was.
How did you feel?
Well, you know, when you're a teenager, you don't realize the ramifications of a thing like that, and you don't realize what was ahead, what was in store. So you were just startled. The main thing I thought about was the fact that they had attacked us, but never thinking about the ramifications of it all.
Mm-hmm.
But just the fact of the horror of that, and so many people getting killed, and the ships getting bombed. Without TV, you could still imagine it somewhat, and it was just a catastrophe. Is what the way you felt about it,
Mm-hmm.
and didn't take into consideration what was coming out of it, what was going to take place.
Okay. Now, a lot of young people, kids and teenagers and even adults got involved in the war effort once the war got underway to help with things on the home front. Were you involved in that in Superior?
They didn't have much in Superior, no. No, because it was so small. It really didn't affect us that way. And a lot of the young men signed up or were drafted, but there was no USO or anything like that there because it was such a small community.
Mm-hmm. Did you buy war bonds or?
Oh, sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And let's see. Seems to me that a group of ladies would knit scarves and things like that for the soldiers, and but that's about all I can remember. And of course, the rationing of food and gas and all of that affected your lives.
And the mines must have been affected somewhat.
Well, the only way it was affected was that it brought the price of copper up. It rose.
Mm-hmm.
So that was good.
I think they had to bring in bring in some new workers too because of some of the young men were going into into the armed services, they had to find some new people to come in and work a little bit in the mine. So
Well, if it did, it wasn't earth-shaking.
yeah,
They were just assimilated.
yeah, and probably and different mining towns might have been affected a little differently.
In larger mining towns, yeah.
Okay. When you graduated from high school, what did you want to do?
Well, I knew I was going to college, and I thought maybe to get in the diplomatic service with my Spanish background, and then I thought on the way I would major in teaching, be a teacher, and go on from there. But I got married instead.
So how did you what college did you go to?
U of A, University of Arizona.
Okay. Now tell me how it is that you met Jim.
How what?
How did you meet Jim?
Down at the University of Arizona. Mutual friends.
And let's see, what year was that when you met?
1946.
And how did you come to be in San Francisco?
In San Francisco?
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to, he was going to college, and he thought he was wanted to major in medicine and be a doctor. And there was a doctor in Chandler that we knew, and he was encouraging him and suggested that he go to University of San Francisco for the rest of his pre-med, that he had gone there and he thought it was a very good school, and that then he could choose if he wanted to stay in California for medical school or whatever. So that's why we went up there.
Oh.
So he was accepted up there, and we moved up there.
And that was after you were married, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think he said that was in
That was in 1948.
1948.
Our son was born up there, our first son.
Okay. So you were married in 1946?
Yes,
And were you married, where were you married at?
in Tucson.
Okay. And then you had your son, Jim,
Mm-hmm.
in,
San Francisco,
okay, and that was in 1948.
48. Mm-hmm.
All right. Now, let's talk about the house and your memories from the house. When did you move into the house?
In 1946,
1946.
in the fall of 1946.
Okay. So you came from Tucson and then moved to Chandler.
Well, we traveled first. After school was out, we took a trip and we went all over, and then spent the rest of the summer up in Prescott, and then came down and moved into the house.
Mm-hmm.
Stayed out of the heat.
Yeah. So, what brought you to the house? What made you decide to move to Chandler and move into the house?
Well, it was our house, and so that's where we lived.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, maybe you can describe a little bit about your memories of the house when you first got there and you saw the house and and started making a home there. Describe that.
Well, it was already furnished and everything, so that was no problem. And what else? Well, we just moved in.
Mm-hmm. So it was already furnished.
Pardon?
It
Yes.
was already furnished.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think that Jim had mentioned that there was a Mr. Pullman. They were renting the house prior to you moving?
Yes. When it was vacant, and the trustees, everything was in trust at that time, and the trustees, I think the hotel, the San Marcos Hotel, approached them and asked them if they would consider renting the house. That they had people that would come and stay at the hotel, but they would like to sometimes rent a house for the whole season. And so they did. They rented it to the hotel for our time until we got married, and because nobody was living in it, and but when we got married, well, that's where we were gonna live.
Okay. What was your first impression of the house and the area when you first moved there?
Well, I thought it was beautiful, and the house really was. It's too bad you're seeing it now and not seeing it then, and sitting out in the middle of 350 acres even made it more dramatic. And we went down a long driveway to the house, and it was just beautiful. It really was. And then all the fields were planted and everything. It was really special, very, very special. I had never lived on a farm. My grandfather had, but that wasn't like my grandfather's. It was much, much finer, and it was really lovely, and we enjoyed it very, very much. A lot of house for two people at that time, but we usually had a lot of house guests, friends of ours from the university that was still down there, and my husband had gone to school in Phoenix, and friends of ours from Phoenix. And when they'd come down, they'd spend the night because it was quite a drive. It was easier to do that rather than drive home at midnight or 11 o'clock at night. And we were all pretty fancy free at that time, and so we could do that. So no, it was a wonderful home. It really was.
That was interesting. The last time that we talked, you talked about some of the social gatherings and some of the things that you did in the house. Can you tell me about some of those?
Well, there was never one particular doings. It was just easy to entertain, and people loved coming out there, and so it just was easy to do. And we also had a circle of friends in Chandler, and they were all pretty much the same as we, and they would love to come out too. And so it was just easy, very, very easy, just to have people out.
So you would have dinner and
yes, we'd have dinner.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
Did you have any special like parties or things that happened regularly? People would
No,
come
we
and do
didn't.
things certain.
No, we didn't. Well, we'd have Thanksgiving dinner and Christmas, but that would be just family. And but no, we didn't celebrate anything special year after year.
You know how some people, they'll when you have a certain group of friends, you might invite them over and play cards once a month or something like that, kind of have a get together, regular get together.
Yes, that's what we did. Casual get-togethers, and then dinner parties.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm sure everyone enjoyed the view from your roof, probably.
It really was beautiful then. Air was so clear and see so much. It was really lovely. Yeah. You just don't see that anymore.
Can you describe like the view that you would see?
Well, in looking west, we see the Estrellas, and they look like they were right there. And looking over towards the southeast, we see, what are those hills between here and Casa Grande?
Santan.
But we see those, and we can see Superstition easily. And we couldn't see Four Peaks that well. But on a clear day, we could, from the roof. But from the ground, we could see all of those, and we could see South Mountain, of course. That was insignificant compared to the other mountains. And it was quite a view that you had. It was beautiful. It really was.
And was it primarily just you see a lot of farmland kind of stretching around?
Yeah, there was nothing but farms until you got to the San Marcos Hotel golf course, and that's where on Chandler Road, and that's where the houses started. But some of those weren't even built until 1946, 1947, 48, and so it was really all farmland.
Okay. Okay. Let's see. One of the things that we'd like to do is try to, get a sense of what the different rooms look like, how you had them decorated.
Mm-hmm.
Can you kind of maybe start with
The front bedroom?
Yeah, and then just kind of go around and describe the different rooms.
The front bedroom had twin beds, and it was traditional furniture. It had beds and a dresser and what do you call it? A cabinet where you had drawers and you put your things in. Had its own closet, and the bathroom in there was every bathroom had a colored tile in it, and the bathroom in there was the tile and shower and everything were green, and the floor had a green tile, and then the next bedroom, it had you may not know about this, you're too young, but they had what they call Spanish Monterey furniture, and they had a set. We had a set of that in there, and it was basically yellow, but it had figures painted on it. It was colorful, and it also had twin beds and the chiffonier. I guess that's what you call and a dressing table, and then there was a bathroom connecting it and the next bedroom, and the bathroom in there was pink, and sounds funny, but it looked good. And the plumbing fixtures and everything, the toilet, everything was pink tile. The shower, the bathtub, it was all matching. And the bedroom that adjoined that was all maple furniture, and that was the only double bed in the house, and it had dresser and the chiffonier and its own closet and everything. Then the master bedroom, that's what we call the master bedroom, was the back bedroom. And in there, it had very traditional bedroom set. And it had a dressing table and the chest of drawers. And we still have that. And it had twin beds also. And we had the headboards put together and put a king-size mattress and bed on it. And we still have that set. It's beautiful. It really is. And then it had that closet, walk-in closet off of it, and with built-in drawers and all of that. And then the bathroom. And that was sort of a coral with the maroon trim in it, and it was very pretty. It really was. And the toilet and the wash basin and bath shower and everything were the coral color, and it was very lovely. It really was.
Now, the way that the rooms were furnished, that's how it was when you first moved into the house.
Mm-hmm.
And was
we
that?
didn't buy anything for that house. Everything was there.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Now, was that furniture put in by Jim's mother, or
I'm pretty sure it was.
Yeah. So when the Pullman family was coming to rent it, they were using the furniture that was originally in there?
When the Pullman family were there, I'm sure that they took their things. And I'm sure that she brought her things and added to it. And I'm pretty sure that's the way it was.
Okay. Now, maybe go back around and go like to the living room area, that big family room there, the entryway, and kind of describe that.
Well, like I say, they had a piano in the corner, and it was covered in leather. Now, that belonged to the Pullmans, and so we did not keep that. That went. And then we had 2 sofas in there on each side of the fireplace, and we had a chest of drawers that we still have, that's in our den here, that was it's an antique, and it had an antique mirror above it. And what else did we have in there? Oh, that was a fireside bench. That was in front of the fireplace, and it had a cane seat in it. Well, the cane tore, as it does, and we thought, well, rather than put the cane back in, let's make a coffee table out of it. I think it's a pretty piece of furniture. Mm-hmm. And so that's what we did. And that little bench in there, that was somewhere in the living room, and I don't remember what it was. But and our dining room set was in that house, and we refinished it. And what else?
What about the fireplace? What did that look like?
You know, Jim and I were talking about that afterwards, and it didn't have that mirrored glass up behind it. We don't remember that. But we can't remember if there was anything up there or not. I don't think there was a painting, because we've collected our own paintings and we brought them with us here. And we had them there, some of them. And neither one of us can remember. It must have been just blank. But we do remember the mantle, and I think that's the same. But no, we don't remember that being up there.
Mm-hmm. Did you have any coverings on the floor or anything like that?
I don't remember the hearth too well either. Mm. That was sitting in front, and I really don't remember what they had there. I know we had carpeting, but how close we went to the fireplace, I don't remember. I really don't.
What about the area? Describe kind of those rooms that were on maybe the north end.
Well, the entry hall, as you've seen, is very much like it was then. It had a flagstone flooring and a beautiful ceiling, and the powder room, and that also had the black tile, the black wash basin and toilet and all of that, which is very striking. And then the dining room had that furniture in it, and then the little den, I think it had a bench in it besides the desk, and there was a chair in front of the desk. And I don't remember anything else special about it. We didn't use it very much, and I don't know why, but we just didn't. Mm-hmm. And then the little breakfast room had a small table and 4 chairs in the pantry and the sink, and we used it as a bar and as a breakfast room. But when we had parties, that was the bar, and it was also a big help for having extra food in there. You know, like you could do the hors d'oeuvres and that sort of thing in there without having to use the kitchen. So yeah, that was utilized that too. And then the kitchen was well, it's pretty much as it was, but it had a lot of built-ins in it, which was unusual in homes of that era. It had like had a closet that had shelves. I mean, well, it was, I guess, a cabinet, and it had shelves in it for your large pots and pans and things like that. And there was a cabinet near the stove, and it had a drawer where it would hold bread. It had a metal, it was lined in metal and all enclosed so that you keep your bread in there fresh, and just little things like that. The architect must have been way ahead of his time, or used to building larger homes than that, with everything attached to it.
Yeah.
And just like the closets that had the automatic light on it. Well, not very many of them had it in those days. And you open the door, the light came on, and that sort of thing. And it was just in the closet, the cabinets in the hallway were for linens, and it had draw boards out of it so that you could put your linens there while you stacked them in the cupboard, and it just had all sorts of little features like that were nice,
Mm-hmm.
very nice.
Yeah, it does. It sounds like convenient.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Put a lot of conveniences in the house.
Very.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, what about the servants' area?
That was one bedroom, and they had their own bath, and it was outside of the house, but in that hallway there, and that's all it was. It was just a bedroom and a bathroom,
Okay.
and a closet.
Did it have any special furnishings in it? You know,
No, it had just plain old. It had a set of maple in there. It had a dresser and the bed. It had a. Now I think it had a double bed. We didn't bring that with us. No, we didn't. The only bedroom furniture we brought was the one that was in the master bedroom, and everything else we left there. So.
Okay. Now, if we could just kind of, like sort of visually go like to where the garage is. Was there anything that you remember about the interior, the exterior of the garage that stands out?
No, we had grass all around it, except outside of the patio wall. That was gravel, and it was a gravel driveway. And no, we just had plants and flower beds out next to the garage and the walkway into the parking was there from the garage towards the east, and then the walkway was there and rather than where it is now, and we had flower beds, stuff like that along it.
What about the courtyard area, the patio? Can you describe that?
Yes, we had flower beds in there and the orange trees, and that was pretty much it. And then the barbecue was over in the corner, and we had porch furniture out on the porch, and we had lawn furniture out on the lawn because it was fun to sit in the sun in the wintertime. And that's pretty much it.
Did it have grass? Was most of that? Grass?
Yes, we had a lawn, and we had flower beds against the patio walls.
Okay. Did you have any certain kind of flowers that you like to grow?
Just colorful flowers. Just lots of color.
Okay. What I know that Jim mentioned that there were some trees that were kind of to the west.
Yes, it was a whole line of eucalyptus trees that lined it from one end to the other, and it was on the other side of the wall, and there was also an irrigation ditch out there, and the trees were beautiful. That was a pretty background for the whole vista. When you pulled into the driveway 3/4 of a mile away, you immediately saw the big trees and the house, and it was really pretty. I do wish we had a picture of that.
Yeah.
I really do, because it was lovely, and it was a beautiful approach. But so they have a few of the eucalyptus left, but not very many. And of course, in those days they were in their glory, so they really was pretty.
What about the landscaping around the front of the house?
It was just plain lawn, and we just never felt that it needed anything. We just felt if we put in trees, it would obstruct the view from the entrance, and so we never did put just lawn in there.
Okay. Did you have any flowers or anything?
Just along the walkway.
Okay. All right. Okay. Going back to kind of the interior of the house, I was kind of curious about the types of appliances that were in the house.
That's funny. They only had 25 cycle electricity out there. So we had a refrigerator that was on 25 cycle. I don't think they even make them anymore. And just a regular, we had a gas stove. There was gas piped out there. And we had that. And we didn't have much. Nothing like kitchens are nowadays. And no dishwasher. I don't think they even had them in those days.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe commercial, but not in for homes.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was very plain.
Did you have was there like a washer and dryer?
Yes. Well, no, they didn't have dryers then either.
Oh.
We had an old-fashioned washing machine, and it was something. And we had the sanitary tubs, but no, they didn't have dryers. We had a clothesline out and back,
Okay.
and that was before the days of washer and dryers.
Yeah, they did have washers, but you're right, it didn't have dryers.
Plus the fact that 25 cycle at that time, there were a lot of things that you couldn't use
Yeah.
because they weren't making them in 25 cycle.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. Now, let's see. Another interesting thing to ask about is how did the house stay cool? What did you have to keep the house cool?
Oh, well, that was a problem. We were never there in the summertime. It didn't have air conditioning like you have now. In fact, I don't think it had any air conditioning at all. I really don't. I'll have to check with Jim on that. But I don't think we had any air conditioning. We had central heating, but not air conditioning.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were never there in the summertime.
So it didn't have like an evaporative cooler or anything?
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. No, we weren't there. I think we had some fans, but no.
So you all would leave for the summer?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where did you go typically?
Well, we used to go to the beach, and we'd spend a month or so there. And then we had a cabin up in Prescott. And there used to be an area called Haziampa Mountain Club, and that goes back 1,000 years. And it was just south of Prescott on the city limits. And it's in the pines. They had pines and everything in there. And when we were young, lots of families had summer homes there. Nobody stayed in Phoenix in the heat if they could possibly help it. And so that developed, and Iron Springs developed, and Phoenix people would go to both places, and they had their own homes there. They were cabins, actually, is what they were. Some were homes, but they were cabins. So we had a cabin up there. Mm-hmm. And so when we had our son, well, we would go there and spend the summer and the beach. We'd go between the two places, first the beach and then the cabin. We still do that. We have a condo over in California, and we go there the early part of the summer, and we have a house up in Pine Top, and we go there the rest of the summer and stay there until middle of October, the end of October. We still do that. Mm-hmm. It's just become part of our lifestyle, I guess.
Yeah, stay nice and cool that way.
Mm-hmm.
Now we had talked a little bit earlier, and you mentioned that you would do like a dinner for Thanksgiving or for Christmas. Did you have any special kinds of traditions for Christmas or for the holidays that you did?
Not exactly. Like I told you, I was an only child, and so my parents would come and spend Thanksgiving and Christmas with us, and just the traditional turkey dinner at Thanksgiving, and we'd have turkey at Christmas also, and it was not extravagant or anything outside of your normal Christmas decorations and Christmas tree and all that sort of stuff. But no, there was nothing, no big family, nothing like that.
Mm-hmm. Did you have any special holiday decorations that you used, maybe inside or outside of the house?
Not anymore. No, when we moved, we just don't even decorate that much anymore. I don't even put up a tree anymore. It's just the four of us, and so our son and our grandson and us, and we just I get poinsettias and I have old trinkets around and stuff like that, wreaths and all that sort of thing. I haven't even gotten them out yet this year. I just got the poinsettias is all I've gotten. But no, we don't do that much anymore.
Mm-hmm. And when you were in the house, did you have any special, decorations that you did in the house?
No, because we spent our first Christmases in that house, so it was all new.
Yeah.
And so you know how it is when you're starting. So we would buy what we needed. It's over the years that you accumulate so much. And when we moved up to Phoenix, well, yes, then we accumulated a lot. And so when we moved here, we decided there was no need. We were living by ourselves at the time, and we thought, well, we'll just put what we like up, and that was pretty much what we have done ever since.
Okay.
But it's mostly wreaths and things like that, and the poinsettias and stuff like that. And I have a nativity scene, and I usually put it on the piano, but nothing elaborate.
Okay. Did you ever, give your house a special name? Sometimes
No, we
people
didn't.
would name their house a certain
Yeah,
use a
no,
Spanish
we
name or
didn't.
something.
We should have, but we didn't. I don't know. I think when you're in your early 20s, you just don't think about things like that. I think as you get older and you build up traditions, I think then you take that into consideration.
Okay. Okay. Now let me ask you just a couple more questions, and then I want to get to asking you again about the people that came to give you domestic help. You were kind of your. One of the questions that I had was, I was kind of curious about how you got mail, since you were kind of way out from Chandler.
How did we do what?
How did you get mail? How did you get the mail?
The mail.
Mm-hmm.
How did we get the mail? I don't know. I guess we had a post office box in town. I don't remember. It wasn't important. Isn't that funny? I guess Jim picked up the mail all the time. And I never even thought about it till right now.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, I'm sure it was handled, but I guess that's what it was. I guess we had a mailbox in town, and he picked it up.
Okay. Now, and did you all have a telephone in the home?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes, we did. We had a phone. Mm-hmm.
So you had a lot of those basic, the basic things that you needed in the house, pretty much, in terms of electricity and telephone and gas and all that kind of stuff. Okay. Now, tell me about any pets that you had, any special pets.
Well, our first dog was a collie, and he got into some sheep poison, and we had neighbors that had sheep, and they'd bring him in the wintertime, and sometimes we let them eat the pasture on our farm, and the poor dog got into poison, and we buried him out under one of those eucalyptus trees. And then later on we had a boxer, and he also got into the sheep poison and died. And so we gave up on pets until we came up to Phoenix and moved to Phoenix. And that was the extent of the pets down there.
Sheep poison. I don't think I've heard of that before. What did they use that for?
To keep the dogs from chasing the sheep.
Oh, I see. Okay. So it kind of
because the dogs wouldn't attack the sheep. They weren't, they weren't that kind of dog. Even the boxer sounds like he's vicious, but they're not. We loved boxers. We had several boxers. That was the first one. But they would bark at them, and and they ate the poison. It was poisoned meat, and I think it was primarily for coyotes.
Probably.
Because there were a lot of coyotes out there. Because we were only, well, there was only, I think, 80 acres or 30 acres, something like that, between us and the reservation on the south side. So that was all virgin land. There was nothing there. That was all desert. And then Mr. Price rented some of that land and started cultivating it. Well, Suzanne will probably tell you all that, but she never lived out there. So there were coyotes that would come close, and so I'm sure they tried to protect the sheep from the coyotes, because coyotes will attack any animal. They'll attack a dog even. So I'm sure that's the reason they had it.
Yeah. That brings up an interesting question. What do you remember exactly what the boundaries were for the total land that you had?
Well, they had fences up,
Mm-hmm.
and lots of times irrigation ditches would be boundaries also sometimes.
So if you were to go back there and pick out the areas where the boundaries of the land would be, it would be, do you know like what roads might be the boundaries for the land right today?
Jim would know that.
I'll ask him. Okay.
Yeah.
I forgot to ask him that yesterday. So I thought, well, maybe Anna remembers.
No, I was not a farm girl. There was a lot I didn't know. In fact, we joke about this every time we come up to Phoenix from Chandler. He would take me on a different back road, and I would tease him. I'd say, "You're trying to get me lost." And I finally learned that when I was going to come up by myself, I had to have certain landmarks that I went by, pump houses, cottonwood tree, this or that or the other, because they had no street signs or anything. Mm-hmm. And he would always take me on a different route. So I thought he was I think he did it on purpose, just to see if I knew I was going a different way or not. So I don't know the boundaries. In fact, we had our own names for the streets. It was they weren't even named then. Just like what did they call the street in front of our house? Well, it wasn't Price. It was I forget. But anyway, they had different names, and most of them are now. Now Chandler Highway is Chandler Boulevard. That was the same because that was the only road that went into Chandler. Mm-hmm. And but the others were pretty much named by the farmers that lived there the longest, that had been there the earliest. They sort of named the street after them because that was where their farm was. Mm-hmm. And so that was the way they were named pretty much. Mm-hmm. Funny. Really rural.
Yeah.
And it's hard to imagine now.
Yeah, definitely. Now, when we had last talked, we talked a little bit about some domestic help that you had, some of the people that worked for you. Mm-hmm. Can you tell me a little bit about them?
Well, the first ones we had were the ones that Jim had worked for Jim's family, and their name was White, and they did a lot, worked for us for quite a while, and then I think it got to be too hard for them to go back and forth to Phoenix because that's what they had to do, and if we were having a dinner party, something like that, they would spend the night with us in the servants' quarters, and so I think it got to be kind of hard for them. And so then I got help in town, and gosh, I don't think any of them are around anymore. That was so many years ago. I think most of them have died because most of them were older than we were and experienced, and most of them were black. There was a large black settlement there then, and they were looking for work, and now I don't believe there are any around anymore, and I don't remember their last names. I remember these friends of ours had this one woman that worked for them for years, a wonderful woman, and her name was Mary Cole. Now, I remember her name, but I don't think I can't remember the last names of the women. We only had a couple because they lasted a long time. They stayed with us, and but I don't remember their last name.
Do you remember their first name?
Well, one of them was named Della,
Della.
and I don't remember the other one's name. Isn't that terrible? She was a good cook. Oh, she was good. They would work all day and cook our evening meal, and yeah. But isn't that terrible not to remember? Of course, when you're that age, it's not important. It really isn't. It's funny. And of course, we didn't have to pay Social Security or anything like that. You know, nowadays you pay Social Security and things for your help, and so you know their names and all that. But no.
Now I know that the White family. I think he said there were Roy and
Hiawatha.
Hiawatha, right? Can you tell me a little bit about what they would do around the house to help you guys out?